Sixers' Joel Embiid, who was a center drafted in 2014, is now out for the rest of the season with a torn meniscus. And that's 3 major injuries. And I'm sorry, and I know everybody's getting offended by this, and I know in the PC world we live in, we can't say things like this, but he is now Greg Oden. Yep, he is. Now, he may come back and be healthy, and the outcome may be not the same as Greg Oden, but right now he's Greg Oden. Greg Oden was also hurt in college, so was Joel Embiid. This kid's played 31 of 246 NBA games. And they had a minute limit on him. He wasn't allowed to play back-to-backs, and he still got hurt. First his back, his foot, his knee. He is Greg Oden to this point. Now, again, Greg Oden's career just stopped. And Joel Embiid is not at that point. But to this point in their basketball lives, they are the same. Hurt in college and constantly hurt in the NBA. Now, I am crossing my fingers because I think the Philadelphia story is very interesting that he gets healthy. But I went on Twitter for 5 minutes last night. This is outrageous. How can you not compare the two? Stop it. Stop it. By the way, I would struggle drafting centers. Look around. Bill Walton, Sam Bowie, Greg Oden, Shaq, Bynum, Dwight Howard, Nerlens Noel, Yao Ming retired at 30, Okafor, Bogut. Centers get hurt a lot. Centers are tough to evaluate. If you go to the last 20 centers, go to the last 20 NBA drafts, the last 20 drafts, and I'm not talking the number 1 pick. I'm talking the last 20 drafts, the number 1 center prospect. About 15 are abject busts. Look at the last 20 drafts and take the number 1 point guard prospect. Numbers much lower. It is hard to evaluate centers. First of all, if you're 7 feet in high school, how often are you challenged? Do you really have to refine your skills? And even in college, you may face, in 2 years, you'll never face an NBA center in college. There aren't many skilled bigs. And you're not going to face one in high school, and you may only face one in college. The other thing with centers, and I've said this before, and I've always had a strong feeling, there are 3 reasons why I've always been leery of centers. Number 1, I don't think people were meant to be 7 feet tall and running up and down in a hard floor. Number 2 is centers take more physical contact. And number 3 is there's a psychological factor to being a 7'2" human being. That means you were probably 6'9" in the 8th grade. You don't think weight sometimes can give kids self-esteem issues? You don't think people gawking and staring at you when you were 5'8" in the 5th grade? Really? 6'2" in the 6th grade? 6'7" in the 8th grade? Everybody else is 5'4", 5'5". Bodies aren't meant to be 7 feet. You take more hits in the NBA. And I've always felt there's a psychological factor with centers. There's a lot of busts. A lot of them come into this league, and they're just not ready upstairs. It's too much. That's why Golden State built around wings. If I was going to get a center in the NBA, I'd do a Belichick. I'd prefer he's already in my professional sport flourishing. Then I'd go pay for him. I'd go Chris Hogan, Wes Welker. I'd want to see him flourish in the league a little first. But I feel bad for the Sixers, but I think centers are extraordinarily hard to draft, hard to depend on long term, and we have a long history of promising bigs getting hurt.